Welcome to this Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we've been following the Ewoks throughout their storied history, but this time our journey through Star Wars vintage brings us to the Clone Wars micro-series.
Today we're discussing Volume 2 of The Clone Wars. 2D micro, the longest name ever,
Get it all in
with
there.
special guest Stephen VanValkenburg.
Yeah.
Welcome, Stephen.
Stephen was a regular contributor to the All the Book show for the David A. Howe Library, and he has the distinction of closing the curtain on fellow Radio Meanwhile show Three Nice Things, where you talked, Bulletproof Monk? Was that it, Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
That was an experience.
That's a hard one.
So we're a little concerned that you're a harbinger of death because you were on Three Nice Things and then they just closed up shop. So we're worried this will be the last episode of this Endorian Life. Any comment?
I declined to comment at this time
okay.
for legal
All right.
reasons.
So, all right. So we'll be okay. But just for a refresher, thumbs up, thumbs down on Bulletproof Monk.
The things I enjoyed about were things that nobody else enjoyed about it. So take that how you will.
That's on
brand.
That's very much on brand for me.
Yeah. Well, all episodes of Three Nice Things still available on YouTube, so you can go and listen to Steven's episode of Bulletproof Monk if you want. You don't have to, because Three Nice Things was a rough time. I watched some truly terrible movies for that podcast, and it was never worth it. Oh my gosh, Son of the Mask, you guys, is the worst.
I've never been able to bring myself to watch
Don't
that.
ever.
Worse than Battlefield Earth, though. I mean,
Battlefield Earth, though, is sort of like magnificently terrible. Like, it's not a good movie, but like, there's so much to talk about. Son of the Mask is just like upsetting. So
insultingly bad. Like, it's just so bad. Yeah,
we watched it and we were just like, why?
That's what it felt like with Expendables 4. And like, I had a friend of mine, like, what were you expecting? And I was just like,
something.
Yeah, but this dialogue, it's so bad. It's like, it's like somebody read the line and they were like, oh, that's just way too good. You should make it like this. And it just sounds so bad. Everything's so bad.
I know I saw Expendables 1, like at a big drive-in theater outside. I don't know that I ever watched another one. So maybe I won't.
1 and 2 were fairly good. 3 was just a little bit. This 4, I don't even know if I finished it, so I'm not.
That's rough.
I shouldn't. I shouldn't say it's terrible, but I mean, like, I think it took me 3 nights, and I'm not even done with it. And that that was me on the couch after surgery. So if I couldn't watch it all the way through for 3 nights, it just at that point wasn't worth it to me.
I think that's a pretty good indication that it's not a good movie. But
yeah.
Anyway. Our topic today is Clone Wars. This was directed by Genndy Tartakovsky, written by him and Derek Bachman. We're discussing Volume 2 today, which is technically aired as the 3rd season. So Volume 1 comprised the first 2 series, and then this is Volume 2, technically Season 3. Ran from March 21st to March 25th, 2005. Released on DVD as Volume 2 on December 6, 2005, and then released on Disney Plus on April 2nd, 2021. So the first 2 seasons, Volume 1, those were 3-minute episodes.
Yep.
This was like 5 25-minute episodes or something. Yeah, longer.
20 ones. Yeah, it was like 15, 20 or something like that.
And I do think you could feel that a little bit, like in the pacing and stuff. The first one was so relentless, it was just like boom, boom, action, 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 Kit Fisto underwater, action, action, action. And this took its time a little bit more, a little heavier on slapstick, but we will get into that. Cast includes Matt Lucas as Anakin Skywalker. Now, Stephen, we were not too thrilled with that voice. You are, of course, an expert and a lover of all things prequels. How do you feel about this Anakin voice?
I would prefer to consign this to the nether regions of the Force, personally.
The nether regions of the Force. Yeah, it's not good.
Even where the Force don't shine. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Greg Griffin as Padme, Tom Kane as Yoda, Corey Burton as Count Dooku, of course, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. On the note of C-3PO, our featured cast member today is Tom Kane. So Tom Kane plays Yoda here, and he's probably best known to Star Wars fans as the voice of Yoda because he's been doing it since 1999. So a good long while in animation and games and other things, you often will be hearing a Tom Kane Yoda, but he also has the distinction of being one of the very few other actors to voice C-3PO. So the times when even Anthony Daniels is
Really?
like, you know what? I don't need that check. Someone else can do it. Tom Kane, which is not often.
Which is not very often.
Very
Yeah.
rare. But he has done it several times. The first time he did it was in a video game from 1998 called DroidWorks, where you create your own droid, and C-3PO was kind of like the, oh my, look at what you're creating, kind of character.
Man.
And that was
And I never played that.
That was Tom Kane, who's Yoda here, but he has voiced C-3PO many a times over the years. Now, Stephen, last week we were talking about how we came to know about this show. Did you watch this when it was on? How did you discover the micro series?
I don't think I saw it in the installments on Cartoon Network. I think I actually saw the action figures in the store before I actually watched the show. And they're such a different style than to all the other Star Wars action figures that were out at the time.
Yeah.
They were very appealing to me personally. Then I tracked down the show. I don't remember if I ended up watching it on TV whenever it came around again.
Yeah.
But the toys, I think, are what hooked me to start with.
Okay, that makes sense. We didn't discuss the action figures last time, but they are cool. I mean, I feel like every Star Wars action figure up to that point was either like, vintage 80s stuff where it's very blocky, or when you move into the prequel era, they tried to do more of a realistic vibe. So
these had a very painted kind of texture, with like a very pastel colors and very brushed texture.
Yeah,
they were very different from all the other Star Wars action figures.
Yeah, well, they're very cartoony, and all the exaggerated features that you see in the show, were there in the action figures. So that's interesting. I do remember these DVDs popping around a little bit, but yeah, I didn't think about coming in by way of seeing the toys and being like,
no, I always had to see the new Star Wars toys that came in the store. I would scan them very regularly.
Oh my gosh, you guys, the golden days of Toys R Us.
Oh, what a time.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful
yeah.
Time. Beautiful time. I loved it so much.
Go in there and be like 12 years old and start buying that game on layaway. Oh man, those were the days.
I remember pulling off a stack of those action figures, trying to hold them all in my arms, trying to get the ones in the very back, finding the ones I didn't have.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good time.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved doing that. I had from the classic era, when I was a little kid, I had Luke in the X-Wing gear, and I had an R2-D2, and I had a Chewbacca. And I think that's maybe it from the classic late 70s and 80s. I still have them bouncing around. And I had a Wicket. Of course, I had a little Wicket.
Yeah.
Those are my classic toys. Steve, what was your first Star Wars action figure? Do you remember?
I remember for one of my birthdays, it must have been a very early one. It must have been 6 or 7, I think. I got the Luke Skywalker and the little flight pack set he had. It was a deluxe Luke Skywalker.
That's cool.
The super buff Luke.
Oh, nice.
With the multi-pronged jetpack that you got that you could fly on.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was the exact same stock figure as the standard one, except for it had gray pants instead of tan pants or something. Cool. But I loved it. And I had a whole bunch of those action figures.
Star Wars merch just went crazy. What about you?
I was interested in the I can't remember what they're called, but the micro series where it was a ship and then you got the little figure that kind of hinged at the hip, and that was basically it. Maybe the arms went like this,
Yeah. Micro Machine?
They might be the Micro Machine series or something like that, but I have a box in the closet of every one of those ships.
Oh, that's
every
cool.
single one, multiple.
Really
I got I got B wings, A wings, ton of X wings, because sometimes it was a 2-set thing where if you wanted this one, you had to have an X wing with it. Whatever. I already own an X wing, or a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
But so I got I got 5 TIE fighters because it was just, the one that if you want the Millennium Falcon, it's got to come with a TIE fighter. I'm like, oh, well,
yeah,
I want the Millennium Falcon, so I might as well have another TIE fighter.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not mention my love, which continues to this day, of the collapsible lightsabers.
Oh,
in any various form. I vividly remember having a Qui-Gon Jinn light up green lightsaber with the sound effects that I cherished. And as I've gotten older, I pick them up whenever I find them at garage sales. I bought a whole lot online of 8 of them for super cheap, and I still play with them to this day.
That's cool.
I had something like that as a kid before they came out with the lightsaber versions of those.
Oh, really?
And it was it was it looked it was just a light.
Okay.
It had a yellow handle and had a rainbow, blue.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
And that was the early version of it. It was a carnival toy. And then somebody was just yo, lightsaber. Boom. Disney was on it. And, then all of a sudden you saw them everywhere in stores.
Yeah.
Great idea.
My son has got quite a collection of lightsabers too. I've never had one. Like I didn't really get the toys like that when I was younger. I never really had one other than these like unlicensed one that made that series of like pew, pew, pew kind of sounds. So I finally had to get one to play with my son, and I got a Kai Bright Stars lightsaber from Young Jedi Adventures. So it was pretty fun. It's little. It's very like. So we've had some good times with that.
That's good.
All right, Steve, take us in. Let's do it. Let's talk about Volume 2 here.
All right. The uber detailed plot of Clone Wars 2D micro Star Wars Clone Wars 2D micro series Volume 2.
Okay.
Volume 2 wastes no time continuing what Volume 1 started. An elite group of ARC troopers is tasked with rescuing the Jedi victims from General Grievous. It seems as though not all were lost. They managed to rescue 3 Jedi from the hands of the sinister general. Short on forces, the Jedi Council rallies to promote Anakin from Padawan to Jedi Knight in a special ceremony at the Jedi Temple. With his new rank and a head full of ambition, we see a great montage of Anakin's exploits and solid victories throughout the galaxy. However, not all is going well for the Republic. Chancellor Palpatine and Mace Windu assign a strange reconnaissance mission to Obi-Wan and Anakin amidst a flurry of battles across the galaxy. On the planet Nalvan, Obi-Wan and Anakin discover the inhabitants are plagued by a force that has taken all of their warriors, never to return. An omen is revealed, and it seems Anakin is the key to a prophecy of the one who will save them. This is Anakin's final test as a Jedi since the war pushed back his official trials. Anakin faces his destiny and rescues the Nalvan warriors who were the victims of terrible experiments at the hands of the Separatists' Techno-Union. However, during his trial, Anakin has a vision of the future, one where he is the hero but also becomes something much more foreboding. Meanwhile, General Grievous and his armada of Separatist droids mount a colossal and brazen assault on Coruscant. The clone forces are overwhelmed all over the main city, but with the help of Yoda and Mace Windu, the bulk of the attack is broken off. The main assault, however, is a distraction as the focus of the attack was to allow General Grievous to capture Chancellor Palpatine. Despite the clever and best efforts of Shakti and the remaining Jedi Knights, General Grievous is successful in capturing Palpatine and retreating to his personal frigate in orbit. Obi-Wan and Anakin are notified of Palpatine's capture and immediately set off to join the fray over Coruscant. Roll credits. Oh, yeah.
So I have to say, last time there were some things that I was like, okay, I vaguely remember this. I would say for this one, I didn't remember a single thing. So I don't think that I've ever seen any of this before.
I remembered the Nelvon people, but I did not remember that episode. Not at all. I remember the way they looked, like the females. They looked like cats, kind of like weird cat ocelot type things.
Yeah.
And I was I've seen that.
It looked like the Avatar world. It looks like
the Na'vi. I mean, Nelvon. Na'vi. There's no copying there.
No.
But yeah, like the same for me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't remember pretty much all of this.
Yeah.
So I was very, very surprised.
I hate to go negative early, but I got to say, I didn't enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed Volume 1.
Really?
Oh, you're the opposite?
Oh my gosh, yeah. This one was
better.
I think the pacing on this one was so much better, and you know, I think there was a little bit more focus on story. I think
true,
but I think the Nelvon story was a little bit extra, right? Because if you think about it, like, you know, if this were a 3-minute series, there would be no time for this storyline at all. But because they were like 15, 20-minute episodes, there was.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did think you feel the format change. Like, there's no mistaking that these are longer episodes versus.
Yes, you can tell.
Stephen, what did you think? Did you like this better or worse compared to the original, like Volume 1?
I think personally, I've watched Volume 1 more than I've seen Volume 2, so it has a bit more of a familiarity to me. This one was less like ingrained in my consciousness, so it was good to watch it again.
Yeah,
but I think I enjoyed the first one more as well.
It went kind of slapsticky. Like there was much more like humor and a lot of like sight gags, and
there were lots of very memorable pauses for comedic effects.
True, where it's like, all right, this is going to happen. Now we hold, and boom, there's the joke.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like the first volume had that kind of humor in it.
It didn't. There was no time. You know, there was no time to like develop aspects of it. It was, I mean, we right off the bat, I remember being like, this is way more serious than anything that we've watched.
Yes, for sure. Speaking of things that we watched, Steve, did you see that there was a Duloc in this?
Really?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna text it to you
right now. Get out of here! Oh, in one of the aliens when he's walking through the street.
In crowd scene, but it really like closes in on it. Like it's like look at this
big green one, the big ugly green. Was that a Duloc? Get out of here!
Yeah,
no way.
He's got the. I just texted it to you. He's got like the gold hoop earrings and stuff, and the coloring and everything. I looked it up on Wikipedia, which confirms that it is in fact a Duloc. So here we go. This is the last, I guess, canonical appearance of the Dulocs.
Oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, he is kind of a Duloc, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's got the purple eyes. I mean, that kind of gives it away too, right? And he's the earrings. Yeah,
and
that's
it was
a Duloc.
Like we saw a big crowd shot, and then it really like focused on the Duloc for a good, whatever, couple of seconds. But I think that was a nice little homage because this was the first animated thing since Ewoks.
There was a ton of homages. Did you see? I mean, there was like member berries and little nuggets of like fun stuff. Like, what a terrible smell you've discovered. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's like such a great line to bring back.
My wife caught that. I didn't even catch that one, but yeah.
Oh, terrible smell or wonderful? I can't remember what he says.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, but I was just like, oh yeah, here we go. Yep, and it fit. Didn't feel out of place.
I was excited to see Qui-Gon.
Yes, I'm always excited for Qui-Gon.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah.
As
soon as they showed little like apple-faced like little Anakin with his bowl haircut, I was like, oh, okay, all right, we're going some throwbacks. But it was nice to see Qui-Gon in here. I thought that was cool.
I was confused at first that it was actually like a vision because it didn't quite end like it was, did it?
No, it didn't. Like I was excited to see the scene, but I didn't feel like it really connected with what was going on necessarily.
Yes, yeah.
So I'll take it just to see Qui-Gon.
I think maybe it did end with Yoda kind of sitting there like. But like I wasn't sure. I was like, wait a minute, what was that? I had to like rewind and watch it again because I thought, well, did I look away? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's a vision. It's got to be a vision, right? Because I'm sitting there. Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon was not alive so this has to be some sort of like
either a memory
vision or I mean
something that's being pulled.
Right. I mean, Yoda's even said it before that like the future is uncertain, and so he might be seeing like he would
what might have been
past. What might have been. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Love the music this time around. Did you notice that? I felt like the music was better. Like maybe it was because it was more slow down, more contemplative kind of scenes. You should really focus on it. But there was a lot of things where I was like, is this available? Like, can I listen to this on something,
I wonder.
Yeah.
I bet you can.
I did like that. Yeah. I thought it was cool. Steven, what were some standout moments for you?
I love that they lean back into the Grievous fight with the Jedi that they get back away from in the first volume after he pretty soundly defeats several of them at once.
Yeah.
I like that they pick that up and show him just being like untouchable.
Yeah.
I always wished in the live action movies we had Grievous as the force he is in this show. Because I want to see this battle in like live action.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see
that's a good point.
Even though he does lean more towards into the comedic stuff later on, which is surprising.
In the first volume, we have that scene, and Grievous is like downright scary. And in this one, they keep doing that thing like where Palpatine's in the elevator and Grievous's head just like comes upside down into the shot. And that happens 3 different times where you have like
the window
Grievous,
with Palpatine.
the window.
Yeah.
You have that a couple of times, and it is like very funny, but every time I was like, this is weird.
Well, there's a lot of suspense, and then like instead of like a shock thing, it's just like he just kind of lowers in, and it's just like I was like, oh, what? Like that's not scary.
Oh, I didn't get it.
I was expecting to be like, and jump.
One thing I wish got expanded more in this was when Dooku and Grievous had a scene together. Yeah, I want more of that relationship.
That was finally we got to see it, and he's teaching them, and
he's notoriously like bigoted against like droids and people using mechanical parts in all the books and stuff. So it would be interesting. So like he has to do it, but he hates it.
Yeah,
I don't understand like why in all of the Star Wars universe is Count Dooku like the least explored character?
I know, he's so fascinating.
He's so weird,
Yeah.
you know. You just don't get much of it at all.
He's the
I don't get
missing
it.
piece
Yeah.
between, like he is Palpatine's Padawan, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's that the rule of
how it plays
two.
out.
He's the
Yeah.
other guy,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's
He's like a major political head of like an entire movement, and
Yeah.
he's just like the nameless bad guy in lots of things. But he
Yeah.
has so much depth to his character. I always
Jedi
wish they touched that more.
Sifridius, right? That's his pen name.
Is he Sifridius?
No, Sifridius was another Jedi Master that was one of his contemporaries when he was a Jedi Master.
Okay.
But I thought Dooku used his name as the one to purchase the clone army. I thought that's what that was. No, maybe
They explore this in the book Darth Plagueis by James Cassino.
I have not read that. So Sifridius was bad then, or he was good, or see that
it was like it was like a gray area. Like, we'll use this as a backup. I don't know if I fully agree with this, but we don't want to be caught empty-handed if it comes to this kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, because they do throw that out there, like in Attack of the Clones. They're like, Master Sifridius, and you'll never really see that play out. You never really get. So it's interesting.
I do highly recommend that book. That was one of my most favorite Star Wars books ever.
Say it. What was it again?
Darth Plagueis by James Cassino.
I've seen that. I haven't read it. That came out around the time as Tarkin, I think. Ish.
Yeah, something like that.
I love Darth Bane.
It's read by Daniel Davis, which is very good.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Steven, you're our guest, so why don't we stay positive? Tell me what your Ichiwawa moment was. The biggest, best standout moment for you.
All right. I love the clones and all the media that they're in. I love their unique personalities, and then they're not just some random army. I like that they all have character and fun, even like this, where it's not as in depth as say like the later Clone Wars show. There are still little moments where the troopers can stand out and have their own special things. There's this one where an ARC trooper, which is one of the leaders in red tinted armor, he
ARC
just
77.
goes full. Yeah. He just goes full Rambo. There's some droids advancing over like a ridge, and he's outnumbered. He just whips out a pistol and like a full like rifle, and he's just dual wielding and just like panning across the whole fleet of droids. And it's like, it's great. It's just like a force to be reckoned with. I love it.
What about you, Steve?
I think mine was one thing I enjoyed about this was that because they had a little bit longer time, the cinematography aspect of it was cooler. Thought when the fleet was flying into space to meet, or not the fleet, the fighter squadron, right, led by I feel like I knew that Jedi's name, the one with the whole
PSA-10.
Yeah, and he was going into space, and you see like a bunch of stars, and all of a sudden the stars like whoosh, roll in, and it's like looks like debris, but then it's all of a sudden not debris. It's frigates and star destroyers and all that stuff and ships, and then you see the little specks around each one because it's all the fighters. I was like, dude, that was really cool to see that like all come in really, really quick, and to do that with a cartoon is impressive. Like that's cinematography right there in a cartoon. They could have just had them like flying up and then just be in the battle suddenly, but they chose to like make it come in like it's this crazy thing. And that 3D battle where you have star destroyers all facing, all the ships are facing different directions and some are colliding with each other, and like that whole segment was, I think, better than the segment from episode 3, because that segment in episode 3 focuses way too much on the Obi-Wan buzz droid thing for just far too long, right? Where this was like, it focused on the guys jumping from ship to ship, taking over, like the space battle, like it was just all over the place in chaos, and I just thought it was really, really good. But it reminded me exactly of episode 3, kind of like, well, they probably took a lot of this stuff, like, wow, this is a great idea, you can do this in cartoon, we can just do it in real life. And they basically recreated the same scene. You got to think this was done before episode 3. So
this aired on TV like 3 or 4 months before episode 3 was in theaters.
So it's a nice like synergy there with the
absolutely. So I think it was a perfect roll into episode 3, but I thought that like beginning of the space battle, rolling in, flying out of the atmosphere was just so cool looking. I had to rewind and watch it again. I was like, oh man, that was awesome.
That's a good pull.
What about you, Nick?
I really liked seeing the promotion ceremony, to see Anakin
Oh yeah,
get
that was
made a full
cool.
Jedi Knight, come into that room and all the Jedis are lighting up the sabers, and we have a
Yeah.
whole sort of a knighting ceremony. We see Anakin's rat tail get cut, and he starts growing out the hair. But
Yeah.
I just, we never see that. I can't think of a time when we saw a true promotion like that. And so it was just kind of like a little corner of Jedi-ness that we hadn't seen before. So yeah, I like that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot to like. I think it was, I remember watching this and being like, oh, that's my favorite thing. Nope. Okay, that's my favorite thing. What an incredible smell you've discovered. I was like, oh yeah, that's great, because that's like totally Han Solo. That's my favorite part. Then there was so many other cool things that happened.
Yep.
That it's hard to, but that one scene for me, like that was so memorable. It was so cool looking. What about Nick? What about something bad? What's your Oak of Arc moment?
Well, I really didn't like anything that had Padme and Anakin in it. I felt like their relationship is weird always, but I just felt like in this, I found Padme really annoying, and their relationship, I don't know. I just really didn't like those scenes. Every time one of those came up, I was
Did you think it was weird that he was like, it was obvious they set the tone that somebody was following him, but he didn't know it was Padme? I feel like that's a little bit weird. Right?
True.
That
it
you
does
didn't
seem like you'd be able to.
They make a whole point of being able to sense each other across the universe in various forms of media, and he couldn't tell it was her 2 blocks behind him.
He's in the temple looking out at her, and she's in her hotel room or whatever, not hotel room, house, looking out,
space
and they
hotel.
can see. Yeah, space hotel. But space accommodations. No, and they totally can sense each other, and she knows that something's wrong. But I thought that was just I was just like, oh,
yeah,
that was you honestly didn't know it was her.
Yeah, true.
so
yeah, I didn't like that whole section.
He went to the point of pulling his lightsaber out, at her throat.
Right, at her throat.
Right. My word,
about to kill her, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, what about you, Steve? What was your Oak of Arc moment?
There is just some unfortunate phrasing of prophecies later on at the Nelvan
I
place.
know what you mean.
Yeah.
When the elder is recounting the prophecy about Anakin going to rescue them from whatever, there's just very unfortunate phrasing involving the mother's.
Does he say you have to enter the mother's
mouth?
You
will enter the mother's mouth and set her aflame or something. I'm like, okay, all right.
There was some.
What kind of movie to set up for here?
I think that whole scene, that whole aspect of it was silly. That there's no more men left, but there's just this one. So we're gonna test him to see if he's up for it. And it's just there's only one. Just send him.
You tried this about 800 times. Right, Why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
You're gonna test him against this massive animal that's just gonna kill him, and then you'll have nobody. So it's that was I don't know. That was really.
It was kind of weird. I thought their whole they're really pulling from, I feel like, Native American imagery and sort of the mythology of that.
Yeah,
was sort of pulling from that, which reminded me of that Ewok comic book that we did not long ago, or Hanna-Barbera's Pawpaws, as we've discussed in great detail. But yes, there's certainly
the cave painting. Cave painting scene, that was pretty cool. I really did like that.
When you see the story play out in cave,
and then it focuses in, and you see Darth Vader's helmet.
Yeah, only for a second. I'm glad they didn't overdo that.
Yeah. They didn't focus on it. That you kind of had to be like, whoa, that was definitely the shape of Darth Vader's helmet. I know that shape. Yeah, and so for me, I agree with you, Steve. That I think it reminded me that the separatist techno union existed. I was like, oh yeah, those guys. They could have just not had it, and it would have been okay.
Yeah.
But it seemed like a really weird, you're going to face your trial, and they made it mirror Luke's, right? Where in you're going to only bring what you you're going to face only what you bring with you, right? And that's that's the vision Yoda has of Anakin before he's going into the jungle with Qui-Gon. So it's kind of mirroring what he's doing now. Right. And I thought, oh, okay, is he going out there without his lightsaber and all that stuff because he's shirtless? But it was weird that their prophecy is that he's going to rescue them, but do all these things. but it's really not for them. It's really just for himself.
Yeah.
So maybe it's good that it's multi-layered, that like their savior is also saving himself, but we all know it doesn't, right? So like he doesn't actually learn anything from this. It's just confirming what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really weird that it's like this is kind of setting up for like in the future he's going to be doing something. He's going to be like, oh, remember when I was in that cave and I saw this thing? I have the power to change my destiny. And maybe it's not that. Maybe it is all the way in Return of the Jedi. That's what's going through his brain.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, that like...
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, you all know what happens to Anakin Skywalker, so here's something that kind of... So it wasn't,
we did see a Royal Guard, a purple Royal Guard. Do you remember that?
True.
So it was like a Republic, I guess, or Republic Guards were purple?
Whatever, Palpatine's.
They were purple.
Right?
Yeah, in episode 1.
It was like a deep blue.
Deep blue? Okay, purples and blues I'm bad with.
I think I feel like the whole sequence of this, it really stood out to me, like as opposed to Volume 1, where it was like, we got these cool moments for all the Jedi. Like everybody, like we had the cool Mace Windu thing, we had the awesome Kit Fisto underwater thing. We kept going through the different Jedi and featuring them differently. And I wanted more of that. I wanted this episode I wanted more of that Wolf Jedi,
It was only cool moments, right? I mean, that's...
Obi-Wan gets nothing in this.
No,
Obi-Wan really gets nothing. Yeah, that's right, Steve. He's sidelined, totally sidelined.
And I think this whole sequence of Anakin and the prophecy is like, we could have done without that, and we could have done a lot more of the cool stuff that we got in the first one. So,
Obi-Wan versus Dirge in the first one is such a compelling, like, little mini action sequence. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is just like so... I feel like it's the most hardcore you ever see Obi-Wan is in Volume 1.
Yeah.
And in this one, he really is in that sort of like disapproving dad mode that we see.
I mean, Clone Wars, he is. Like the first season of the Clone Wars, he's pretty...
I suppose.
He's pretty stuck up.
But he's just so hardcore, when he goes against Dirge. I mean,
he's very cunning but I think that's what makes the Volume 1 so good, right? That there is no chance for you to kind of not like anything. Where it's really just like all the best parts of every single scene, where this starts to kind of draw the story out and let there be that opportunity of like, did we really need that? Maybe not,
I will say that I never felt the length in Volume 1. I never was like, how much longer do I have? This one, I had a little bit of like...
this one, there was a couple times I checked.
Going here.
I really think you could excise all the Nelvon stuff, and he wouldn't have hurt anything. It would have improved, honestly.
We could have had so much. We could have had a lot more content. Because I mean, it's like the one character in Star Wars that you don't need more development for is Anakin. I feel like like we got.
Well, it's like taking the driver's test like a year after you got your license. It's like, Anakin, you never had the trials, so this is your chance. And I'd have been like, what, bro? I'm a Jedi Knight already. I don't need to take that. Quit it with your trials thing, bro. And so I did like that they were calling each other brother, though. That like, there was that nice. Like, you'll be my brother, and Anakin's like, huh, what? And his little angstiness, and then like, then he goes, and he even argues with him. He's like, I wish Qui-Gon was alive instead of you. But. That's what I was imagining in my head. That he's
that's pretty much what happened. All right, let's cut to it, gang. How many Yub Nubs out of 5, Steven? How many Yub Nubs are we going to give this? You?
3.5.
Oh, that's lower than
I loved it as a kid. I have not watched it in some time.
Okay.
Before, I probably would have given it 4.5, but upon
this is his first rating.
Now, 3.5.
3.5. Okay,
compared to what? Right? He's got nothing to compare it to. So I get it. No, that's good.
Yeah. All right, Steve, what about you?
Man, I know I gave Volume 1 a 5.
I
got to give this one a 5 too. This one was I think I like this one better. I really did like this one better.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think
that's not the impression I was getting.
You need to listen back to this episode because I promise you don't like it as much.
No, you don't. But I liked everything else. Everything else. It was really, really good. All right, the Mace Windu stuff, the Yoda stuff, the Shakti stuff, like even the hallway or the tunnel fight, like all that stuff I thought was so much fun.
It did crack me up when Mace Windu just punched into that ship and grabbed some wires and then started
actively sparking wires.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, that probably should have been my Okavark moment because that was my. I was like,
wrote it down.
I suspend my disbelief on that one.
Yeah,
that like I thought, he's gonna start going like this. He's gonna like turn his wrist to the right, and the ship's gonna go right. He's gonna turn his wrist to the left. It's gonna run, and I was like, here we go. That's probably the corniest thing. I think that's probably should have been
like
it.
He's riding a horse. Yeah,
like he's riding a horse.
Remember the jousting fellas?
The jousting from, IGs. Yeah,
Volume 1. I'm a 3-star on this one. I would watch the second one again. I don't really. This one, I don't feel it compelled to watch.
There are a lot of Ewok episodes you would rather watch besides.
that might be a stretch.
Just think of that. Just think of that. Yeah.
I guess.
Are you sure you're ready to journey across the floating sea of floating islands?
If we're just looking at the two of them, okay, just in the world of the Clone Wars, I say Volume 1 is a 5-star and this is a 3-star.
Okay,
you know, I would probably choose this over a lot of Ewok episodes and over every droid episode. So
yeah, I'm just surprised. After I finished it, I was like, man, that was so much. There was so much Star Wars packed into that. Right, both of them are like an hour long, so it's like an hour and I don't know 10, 15 minutes total.
Yep.
It's just so much Star Wars packed into that. I was thinking, man, they really should have made this into a movie, and that's probably why they did the Star Wars Clone Wars. Right, because they kind of took the framework from this and made the Clone Wars. Right, they just made everything. I mean, Asajj Ventress. That's like I was thinking, like, I was thinking of the stuff that I had said in the original one that, like, oh, Asajj Ventress didn't die, but then as she wasn't in this, I was like, well, maybe she did. Was that when she actually died? Like, I cannot remember in the Clone Wars when she actually died, and so it caused me to think, where does this fit in the Clone Wars series? There's 7 seasons of that, right? Something like that, 6 or 7.
I did not go. Did you go the distance on Clone Wars, Steven? Okay.
They added a last season like years after it initially ended.
Yeah.
And it really like tied everything directly leading into Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So the way this is serialized, I think you could take parts of these and like work it into the canon without disrupting things too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it does clash in weird ways sometimes.
Okay.
But
it does clash. We don't get Arc 77 as a main character, right? In Clone Wars? I don't remember.
No, there are plenty of.
I think there are.
Yeah,
the red
things that are hard to really quantify how many are actually named.
Cody's, that was a big one.
What a journey. What a journey this has been. And we got another weird one next time around. Steve, if you can believe this, next episode is going to be our Life Day special. It's Christmas time, baby.
Life Day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, speaking of Life Day, we saw Wookiees, and including a child Wookiee. So I don't think it was Chewbacca and Lumpy, but it sure made me think of Lumpy and Itchy and the whole Life Day gang over there.
Yeah.
Have you seen the holiday special, Steve?
No, I have not.
Because there's an extended sequence where
Don't
Chewbacca
ever
watches softcore porn. Dude.
Oh, totally. No, it's softcore porn. It is. Right? There's no other way to describe it.
It happens.
There is no other way.
The Arthur's there, and she falls in love.
Sure.
Kind of.
Sure.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's not good, but we are going to be talking about Cavan Scott's story, The Krulok, which you can find in the Life Day Treasury. Back when we did Night of the Gorax, Cavan Scott reached out to us on Twitter, and he was like, hey, if you guys like that, I got a Christmas story too, so you guys should do The Krulok. So here we go. It's happening. Our old pal Jesse Riles is going to be back.
I can't wait.
People have said, please don't have him on the show again, and we just, we owe it to him.
He's been the worst special guest.
He has, and just we don't like talking to him either. I think that's important.
Believe me, I never call him, and when he texts, I just I'll put a letter there, so it just gives him the 3 dots.
Yeah,
just so he sits on that for months because I don't care.
It. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
What a jerk.
Anyway. The Krulok is what we're going to be talking about. It's a story found in the Life Day Treasury. So if you want to read along with us, that'll be good. And then after that, New Year, we're going to be back into Droids and the Ewoks comics, whether we like it or not. So I want to say thank you to our special guest, Steven VanValkenburg. Please don't kill this show like you did 3 Nice Things.
Again, no further comment for legal reasons.
Okay.
It was nice knowing you guys.
This was a good time. All right, Steve, see you next time for Life Day.
See you, Steve, and see you, Nick.
Bye, Steve.
This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 90s Music Got Me Like, previously on X-Men, and 9021 Here We Go. Check Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or X @Endorian Life. And please rate, subscribe, and share this show wherever you get your podcasts.